Have you ever felt like the floor suddenly moved beneath your feet? Like your body betrayed you for just a moment? Have you caught yourself reaching for a wall or a chair, heart pounding, after a near stumble that came out of nowhere? And have you quietly wondered, is this normal? Or is something wrong with me? If you're over 60, these aren't isolated incidents. They're warning signs, and doctors are raising the alarm. Believe it or not, 99% of older women experience balance issues linked to 6 common but devastating daily mistakes. Mistakes we make without even realizing, until one day we find ourselves shaken, unsure, and wondering if we'll ever feel steady again. I speak from experience. Years ago, I found myself flat on the floor, terrified, gripping my side, thinking, is this it? Am I losing control of my body? That day changed everything for me. But what I've learned since is powerful. These mistakes can be reversed. There is hope. And most importantly, you can take back control. So stay with me, especially through to the very end, because mistake number 6 was something I personally struggled with for years, and understanding it could save your confidence, your independence, and possibly even your life. Before we dive in, I'd really appreciate if you take a moment to like this video. It helps spread these important lessons to more women like us. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell so you won't miss future videos. Also, let me know in the comments. If this message is resonating with you so far, comment 1. If not, feel free to comment 0. Your feedback helps me create better, more helpful content for you. Now, let's begin. Mistake number 1. Wearing shoes that quietly betray you. We all have that one pair, those buttery, soft ballet flats that have seen every family reunion, the fuzzy slippers that feel like clouds after a long day, or maybe those timeless heels we danced in during weddings long past. These aren't just shoes, they're memories. They tell the story of our lives, carry the rhythm of who we are. But here's the truth that often creeps up on us after 50. Our feet are changing, even if we don't notice it at first. They've been our faithful allies for decades. But now, without warning, they've become more vulnerable. And if we're still wearing the same beloved pairs from 10, 20 years ago, we could be setting ourselves up for a dangerous fall, literally. In our younger years, our feet felt nearly invincible. The arches we once took for granted sprang with energy, propelling us forward with every step. But with time, even the strongest structures begin to shift. Those arches gradually flatten, their once resilient curves softening under the weight of decades. The protective padding beneath our heels and toes, the cushion that absorbed life's wear and tear, thins without us realizing, leaving the bones of our feet closer to the unforgiving ground than ever before. And those shoes we loved? The ones that have carried us through milestones, celebrations, and Sunday strolls. They may be sentimental treasures, but now they're quietly working against us. They're not just outdated in style. They're failing to protect us from the dangers we face as we age. I learned this lesson the hard way on a crisp autumn afternoon that I won't soon forget. I was walking through the park, feeling rather stylish in my well-worn black ballet flats, my go-to pair for years. Their insoles were soft with use, molded to my feet like old friends. The soles, though, were slick and worn smooth from years of love. As I admired the golden leaves dancing in the breeze, I didn't see the tiny crack in the sidewalk. My toe caught just enough to throw me off balance. In a flash, I was lurching forward, arms flailing like something out of a cartoon, right in front of a group of teenagers chatting over coffee. Their muffled laughter echoed as I barely caught myself against a lamppost. I didn't hit the ground, but I might as well have, for how hot my cheeks burned with embarrassment. That single misstep made something crystal clear. My beloved flats, with no grip, no structure, and no support, had become a hazard. Footwear matters, far more than we realize. Podiatrists and physical therapists often stress that good shoes are your first defense against falls. As we grow older, this isn't just about comfort. It's about safety, independence, and dignity. According to the CDC, falls are the leading cause of fractures, hospitalizations, and long-term loss of independence in adults over 50. And poor footwear is one of the biggest culprits. The right shoes don't just cushion your steps, they protect your future. Shoes aren't just about fashion or even comfort. They're your silent guardians against a sudden, life-altering fall. Every step you take is a negotiation with balance, and the right footwear can tip that scale in your favor. When choosing shoes, don't just look for something soft. Instead, focus on shoes with a solid, supportive base, at least an inch thick, to help absorb shock with every step. Deep, grippy treads are essential too. They act like your personal safety net, clinging to slick surfaces like rain-soaked sidewalks or polished kitchen tiles, offering the kind of security most of us don't even think about until it's too late. And when it comes to structure, ankle support matters more than ever. Sneakers with sturdy laces or boots with firm heel counters gently hug your feet, providing a stable frame that loose slip-ons simply can't. Think of it as a gentle but firm embrace for your balance. And here's the good news. You no longer have to choose between safety and style. Today's footwear market understands us. There are beautiful modern options that blend orthopedic support with memory foam insoles, lifted arches, and even a bit of sparkle or flair for those of us who still love a touch of elegance. I remember the first time I truly invested in a good pair of walking shoes. Ones with a cushioned sole, a structured fit, and a sleek design that made me feel stylish again. The moment I stepped out in them, it felt like I was walking on clouds. My gait was firmer, my posture lifted, and more than that, I didn't just walk, I strode. It had been years since I felt that kind of grounded confidence. But don't let your guard down just because you're indoors. Those old slippers you've worn thin or those loose flip-flops, they're quietly dangerous. Falls at home, particularly in the bathroom or kitchen, can be catastrophic. A broken hip, for example, can change everything. Research shows that nearly half of older adults who suffer hip fractures never regain their previous level of mobility. That means one misstep could take away your freedom overnight. I eventually swapped out my worn slippers for a supportive pair with a non-slip sole, and honestly, the difference was night and day. I felt more secure walking through my own home, whether I was grabbing a glass of water at night or heading to the mailbox in the morning. Your shoes are more than just accessories. They are your foundation. They protect the strength and wisdom your body has carried for decades. So, honor that legacy. Let go of the pairs that no longer serve you. Toss them in the donation bin and step forward in shoes that lift you, shoes that support the vibrant, resilient woman you continue to be. To move through the world with steady confidence, every step needs to be rooted in strength. If you're still watching this video and finding these reflections meaningful, I'd be so grateful if you'd comment number 1 below. It lets me know you're here with me on this journey, and I truly appreciate your time. Now, let's talk about the second mistake, letting your strength quietly slip away. I used to think strength training was for the young and the restless. You know the type. Those gym goers in neon leggings, grunting their way through barbell squats like they were auditioning for a superhero role. I figured, at 50 or 60, I was active enough. After all, I spent hours gardening, kneeling in the dirt to plant tulips, dragging heavy bags of mulch to the flower beds. I scrubbed floors, vacuumed stairs, even chased my grandkids around the backyard, their joyful squeals bouncing through the air. Surely that was plenty, right? But here's what no one tells you until it sneaks up on you. There's a silent thief working against us as we age. After 50, our muscle mass begins to decline, slowly, almost imperceptibly, at a rate of about 1 to 2% every year. The medical term is sarcopenia. It's subtle at first. You don't see it coming. One day you're feeling capable, and the next, you're gripping the sides of a chair just to push yourself up. Or pausing at the top of the stairs, uncertain if your legs are strong enough to carry you down safely. My wake-up call came in a moment that still catches in my throat when I think about it. I was sitting on the living room floor with my 5-year-old granddaughter. She was laughing, tugging at my hands, begging me to lift her onto my lap like I'd done so many times before. With a smile, I reached out, ready to pull her close, but something had changed. As I shifted my weight, my knees gave a little, my legs trembled, and I had to steady myself against the couch to avoid toppling over. She thought it was part of the game, giggling in delight. But inside, I froze. That moment sent a chill through me. My legs, once strong and reliable, had started to falter. Not from lack of love or intention, but because I hadn't given them the attention they needed. It was no longer just about staying active. It was about staying strong. What I felt that day wasn't just the passing of time. It was the result of neglect. I hadn't nurtured the very strength that had carried me through decades of life, motherhood, caregiving, and everyday demands. That moment wasn't just humbling. It was a wake-up call, one I could no longer ignore. But here's the truth I wish every older woman knew. It's never too late to reclaim your strength. Truly, never. Numerous studies confirm that even adults well into their 70s and 80s can rebuild significant muscle mass and improve balance with consistent, gentle resistance training. And no, I didn't need an expensive gym membership or a personal trainer to get started. My journey began in the most familiar place, my living room. I found an old pair of 3-pound dumbbells tucked away in the back of a closet, dusty but ready. While watching my favorite evening shows, I started small, doing bicep curls, shoulder presses, feeling that slow, steady burn. It wasn't pain, it was possibility. It was my body whispering, "I'm still here. Let's do this." Next came chair squats. I'd sit down and stand up slowly, relying only on my legs, not my hands. Then wall push-ups. Palms flat against my kitchen wall, pressing gently but firmly, building strength with every controlled breath. Just 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That was my commitment. Within a month, the difference was remarkable. My legs felt stronger, my balance improved, my core engaged without me thinking about it. I could feel myself becoming more reactive, more agile, able to catch myself if I stumbled, rather than spiraling into a fall. Because let's be honest, most falls don't happen because we're clumsy. They happen because our muscles aren't quick enough to respond. And weak muscles, they're one of the biggest, most preventable risk factors for older adults. But strength isn't only about preventing injury, though that's important. It's about reclaiming your independence, your confidence, your freedom to move through the world without fear. It's about feeling like you again. These days, when I walk my dog through the neighborhood, I no longer shuffle or hesitate. I move with intention, with pride. I can bend down, lift my granddaughter into my arms, twirl her around in laughter, and never worry if my body will hold me up. That kind of joy, that kind of strength, it's worth every rep, every curl, every squat. And you, my dear, deserve to feel that power in your own body again. You can reclaim that vitality too. And it doesn't have to start with grand gestures. Begin small, 5 simple squats while you're brushing your teeth in the morning, or using a couple of soup cans as makeshift weights during a commercial break. The important thing isn't how much you do, it's that you begin. Even the tiniest commitment to movement becomes a powerful investment in the woman you'll be tomorrow. Think about your future self, the one who wants to take leisurely hikes with friends, who dreams of playing tag with the grandkids without hesitation, or who simply wants to rise from a chair without groaning or gripping the armrests for support. That version of you is waiting patiently and quietly, urging you, please, start today. Now let's talk about something we often overlook, our eyes. We think of them as poetic, the so-called windows to the soul. But in truth, They're much more practical than we give them credit for. Your vision is one of your body's most important tools for balance. Your eyes are like silent sentinels, helping you navigate uneven sidewalks, surprise curbs, cluttered floors, and staircases that seem to appear out of nowhere. Yet as we grow older, changes in vision creep in subtly, sometimes without us even noticing. Our depth perception, the ability to tell how far away or how deep something is, starts to blur. Suddenly, a single step can look deceptive, the floor seems uneven, and that familiar hallway might become shadowed and confusing. Poor lighting becomes a trap, hiding dangers in plain sight. A rug that's always been there may appear like a drop-off in dim light. I learned this the hard way. It was late one evening, and the house was wrapped in darkness. I didn't want to wake my husband by switching on the lights, so I trusted my memory and crept quietly toward the bathroom. I thought I knew every inch of that hallway. My hand grazed the wall as a guide, confident that I could find my way. But I misjudged. There was a small landing with a step down, and in the low light, I couldn't distinguish the change in level. My foot reached out expecting solid ground. Instead, it found only air. In an instant, I was down. I crashed onto the cold tile, my wrist taking the brunt of the fall with a sharp, nauseating thud. The pain that followed was intense, a pulsing ache that shot up my arm and stayed for weeks. But the pain wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the fear that settled deep inside me, the unsettling realization that my vision had changed more than I'd admitted to myself. That moment haunted me, and it became a turning point. The very next day, I booked an eye exam. Deep down, I already knew something was off, but hearing the optometrist's words made it real. My glasses, 3 years old, their lenses scratched from years of use, were no longer doing their job. My night vision, dulled by age, wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It had become a risk, one I'd been quietly ignoring. Step by step, I'd been gambling with my safety, and that fall was the cost. Updating my prescription was like flipping on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, the world came back into sharp focus. My new lenses, fitted with anti-glare coating and enhanced contrast, helped me see edges, corners, and curbs with fresh clarity. I could once again spot the rim of a step or the outline of a rug without squinting. I also opted for high-index lenses to reduce distortion and added bifocals to make the transition between reading and walking smoother. No more awkward head tilts to find the right focal point. But the real shift didn't stop there. My optometrist shared a powerful truth. Once you reach your 50s, you should get a comprehensive eye exam every 1 to 2 years. Why? Because conditions like cataracts, glaucoma, and macular degeneration can sneak in quietly, without any warning signs until they've already affected your sight and your balance. Back at home, I made a few simple but powerful changes. I plugged in a nightlight in the hallway to guide me during those midnight trips to the bathroom. I swapped out a dim stairwell bulb for a bright LED that mimics natural daylight. I even made it a habit to clean my glasses daily using a microfiber cloth, ensuring I wasn't looking through a haze of smudges. It's amazing how such small actions can transform your day-to-day life. Suddenly, I could spot a stray sock on the floor before it became a slipping hazard. I noticed patches of ice on the front step before they could take me down. I could navigate my home with renewed confidence, no longer second-guessing where I placed my next step. Vision isn't just about seeing the world, it's about staying upright in it. It works hand in hand with your muscles and inner ear, creating a balance system that helps prevent falls and injuries. In fact, studies show that impaired vision can increase your risk of falling by up to 50%. That's not a number to take lightly. Yet how many of us delay that eye exam, thinking we'll get to it eventually? Or hesitate to upgrade a bulb because it still kind of works? It's time to stop cutting corners on your safety. Schedule that overdue eye check even if your eyesight feels okay. Replace those dim bulbs with bright, energy-efficient LEDs, especially in high-traffic zones like bathrooms, stairwells, and kitchens. And keep your glasses spotless. Those tiny smudges can blur more than your vision. They blur your judgment and your footing. Your eyes are your silent allies. Give them the attention they deserve, and they'll continue to guide you safely through the years ahead. They guide you. They protect you. So equip your eyes, the quiet sentinels of your safety, with the tools they need to do their job well. When you take care of your vision, you don't just see better. You move through life with more clarity, confidence, and security. If you're still here watching and learning with me, I'd love to know. Please comment number 2 below. Your support and engagement truly mean the world to me. Now, let's talk about something that many of us, myself included, have done without a second thought: trusting medications without question. Medications are often presented as lifelines, tiny capsules of hope meant to manage chronic issues, ease discomfort, or prevent more serious problems from developing. That's what I believed when my doctor handed me a prescription to help control my blood pressure. I'd been experiencing occasional dizzy spells, and the idea of more stability felt like a welcome solution. The doctor assured me this particular pill was commonly prescribed, well tolerated, and supported by a wealth of research. I didn't hesitate. I picked up the prescription, took the pills as instructed, and expected to feel better in just a few days. I had complete faith in the process. But something wasn't right. Instead of relief, the dizziness got worse. Every time I stood up from a chair, it felt like stepping onto a boat rocked by waves. My vision would blur at the edges, and I'd have to brace myself to keep from losing balance. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just stress. Maybe I hadn't slept well. Or maybe, like so many of us, I chalked it up to getting older. Isn't that what we're told to expect? But then came the moment that stopped me in my tracks. One morning, as I reached across the table for my coffee, the room suddenly tilted, violently. The mug slipped from my fingers, and I stumbled into the wall. My heart thudded against my ribs as the spinning subsided. It wasn't just dizziness anymore. It was dangerous. That incident shook me. I sat down, heart racing, and pulled out the crumpled information leaflet that came with the medication, the one I had barely glanced at before. It was a wall of tiny text, intimidating and dense, but I forced myself to read it. And there it was. Dizziness, balance disturbances, and lightheadedness, all listed clearly under possible side effects. I'd ignored the very warning signs that were right in front of me. I had barely glanced at that information sheet when I first got the prescription. But now, buried deep in the fine print, I found what I should have paid attention to from the start: a list of possible side effects: dizziness, lightheadedness, loss of balance, irregular heartbeat. I sat there stunned, the words jumping out at me like warning flares. These weren't vague possibilities. They were the exact symptoms I'd been struggling with. And yet, no one had pointed them out to me. I wasn't angry with my doctor. I trusted him and still do. And I wasn't blaming the pharmaceutical companies either, although their leaflets could use a bit more clarity. No, the truth is, I was frustrated with myself. Why hadn't I listened to my own body? Why had I assumed that just because the pills were prescribed, they were automatically safe? As we grow older, our bodies become less predictable in how they respond to medication. What worked well at 55 might be too strong or too risky at 70. Our liver and kidneys, the organs that filter and process these substances, begin to slow down. That means medications can stay in the body longer, sometimes building up to levels that cause harm instead of healing. And let's not forget the reality so many of us face: polypharmacy. Managing multiple prescriptions for different health conditions becomes more common with age, but every added medication brings with it new risks. One drug's side effect can mimic the symptoms of another illness, potentially leading to a misdiagnosis, or worse, the addition of yet another prescription. Take this common example. A blood pressure pill might cause dizziness. A doctor, unaware that the medication is the source, might interpret that dizziness as dehydration or perhaps a problem with the inner ear. And suddenly, you're prescribed something else, all while the original issue continues unchecked. That's when I knew I had to take back control. I scheduled another appointment with my doctor, only this time, I didn't come empty-handed. I brought with me a detailed log. I had tracked every dizzy spell, when it started, how long it lasted, what I had been doing, and how I felt during and after. I also listed every medication I was taking, including supplements I bought over the counter, and I explained how my body had changed since starting the new prescription. My doctor listened carefully. He took my notes seriously, reviewed everything with a thoughtful eye, and he suggested we reduce the dosage, and within just a week of making that adjustment, the dizzy spells vanished. I could stand up, walk, and move around without that constant fear of losing my balance. It felt like I had returned to myself, not just physically, but emotionally. But even more than that, I felt a deep sense of empowerment. That moment opened my eyes to something essential. Medications are not miracles. They are tools, powerful ones, but they must be handled with attention and care. We can't simply take a pill and hope for the best. If you're prescribed something new, take an active role. Read the leaflet that comes with it. Don't toss it aside. Look it up on trustworthy medical websites. Ask your pharmacist questions. What are the side effects? What should I watch for? I also started keeping a symptom journal. It may sound tedious, but it's a simple, powerful habit. Every day, I noted anything unusual, no matter how small. A flicker of nausea, a wobbly step, a pounding heartbeat. Because those tiny clues can signal that your body is trying to tell you something. When you bring that record to your doctor, you're not being difficult. You're being wise. You're giving them the information they need to treat you effectively and safely. And if you're juggling several prescriptions, as so many of us are in our later years, ask for a medication review. It's your right. Have your doctor or pharmacist check for interactions that might be silently working against you. This is your body, your life, your safety. Following instructions isn't enough. You must also speak up. Advocate for yourself. That doesn't make you a burden. It makes you brave. Now let's talk about something a little harder to admit, something many of us try to hide. For years, I wore my independence like a badge of honor. I lived alone, kept my home in order, and tackled every challenge life threw at me. I never asked for help, and I certainly didn't want to rely on anyone or anything for support. So when I started noticing that my balance wasn't what it used to be, I brushed it off. Instead of facing it, I found quiet ways to cope. I'd reach for countertops while walking through the kitchen. I'd steady myself against walls or door frames. I leaned on the backs of chairs just to move across the room. I told myself I was fine, that these were just temporary workarounds, just until I got better. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was afraid. The idea of using a cane or a walker felt like surrender, like giving in to age. I worried about how it would look, what others might think, and whether I'd ever feel confident again. It felt like admitting defeat. A cane, to me, was a loud, visible declaration that I was fragile, aged, and somehow diminished. My pride, and perhaps the fear of what that cane represented, kept me locked into that risky pattern of daily acrobatics. But pride, I've learned, can be a dangerous companion when it blinds you to the very things that keep you safe. One afternoon, I was carrying a basket full of neatly folded towels to the bedroom. The house was quiet, the sunlight warm across the carpet. As I stepped into the living room, my foot caught the edge of a rug. There was no counter within reach, no chair nearby. Just me, the basket, and the unforgiving floor rushing up to meet me. I landed hard. The towels scattered like confetti at a party I didn't want to attend. The physical pain was immediate, a bruised hip and a wrist sore for days. But the emotional pain lingered longer. Lying there, I didn't just feel hurt. I felt embarrassed. Not because I had fallen, but because I had stubbornly refused the one thing that might have prevented it. I had convinced myself that clinging to furniture meant strength, when in truth, it meant I was limiting my own life. That fall became a turning point. It was the moment I finally recognized the truth. Leaning on walls and clutching door frames wasn't independence. It was confinement. I had unintentionally shrunk my world, sticking to the same rooms and predictable paths because I feared what would happen if I wandered beyond them. Real independence, I realized, wasn't about refusing help. It was about embracing the tools that allow us to live more fully and safely. So, I set aside my hesitation and walked into a medical supply store. To my surprise, the canes weren't the sterile, clinical contraptions I had imagined. Among the rows, I found one that made me smile. Lightweight, elegant, with a subtle floral print that felt like it belonged to me. That cane didn't feel like surrender. It felt like a decision, a symbol of dignity, not decline. The first time I used it, something shifted. For once, I didn't have to scan every room for my next lifeline. My posture lifted, my stride steadied, and I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Freedom. Real, empowering freedom. With my cane in hand, I no longer felt restricted. I could step outside with ease, stroll through the neighborhood park, or drop by a friend's house without that familiar undercurrent of fear. What surprised me most was that the cane wasn't a symbol of surrender. It became a badge of courage. It was a visible declaration that I chose safety and the freedom to move boldly over outdated notions of pride or shame. If you find yourself shuffling from one piece of furniture to the next, gripping table edges or leaning against walls just to make it across a room, it's time to rethink what independence really means. True freedom isn't about pretending you don't need support. It's about giving yourself the tools to live fully and safely. Mobility aids like canes, walkers, or rollators aren't signs of frailty. They're tools of empowerment. They allow you to move through your world with steadiness, with confidence, and with dignity. Whether you're playing with your grandchildren, tending to your garden, or simply enjoying a peaceful morning walk, these tools become your allies, not your limitations. Speak with your doctor or a licensed physical therapist to find a mobility aid that fits your specific needs. And don't hesitate to personalize it. Choose a style, color, or design that feels like you. There are elegant options out there that reflect your personality while offering the structure your body needs. Letting go of the fear and embracing the very thing that gives you your freedom back might be one of the bravest and most rewarding decisions you'll ever make. If you're still with me, still listening to these lessons and taking them to heart, please comment the number 3 below. Your time, your attention, and your commitment to your health mean the world. Now let's talk about something that most of us don't realize until it's slipping away. Balance. I used to believe balance was something fixed. Either you had it or you didn't. And once it started to fade, I assumed that was just part of aging, something we quietly accept. But all of that changed after I attended a local senior fitness class one fall morning. I expected gentle stretching or maybe some seated movements with light hand weights. You know, something slow, predictable, and safe for a woman in her 70s. Instead, the instructor asked us to stand on one foot. Then she had us walk heel to toe in a straight line across the room. We began by standing on one foot and slowly shifting our weight from side to side. I wobbled like a toddler learning to walk, my arms instinctively flailing to stay upright. It was humbling, yes, but it was also a powerful moment of realization. Balance wasn't something you either had or didn't. It was a skill, one that could be trained, strengthened, and reclaimed, no matter your age. That class completely reframed the way I understood my own body. I'd always thought of balance as a passive ability, something we lose with age and never regain. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Balance is an active process, a dynamic partnership between your muscles, your joints, and the intricate messages that travel between your brain and your body. It relies on flexibility, strength, coordination, and awareness. And like any other skill, it can diminish when neglected, but it can also be rebuilt. Looking back, I realized just how sedentary I had become. I was spending hours seated, reading, watching television, knitting, while my body slowly unlearned how to support itself. My ankles had grown weaker, my core had lost its tone, and my proprioception, that internal sense of where your body is in space, had dulled. I hadn't experienced a fall yet, but I was walking a tightrope without even knowing it. The instructor's words stayed with me. She explained that while balance naturally declines with age, it's not an irreversible sentence. With consistent, mindful practice, even just a few minutes a day, your body, even in your 70s or 80s, can adapt and regain its edge. That idea sparked something in me. I started small, right in the comfort of my own home. Just 5 minutes a day dedicated to balance became a ritual. I stood on one leg while brushing my teeth, using the sink for support until I felt stable. I practiced walking heel to toe across the kitchen floor, concentrating on each step as if I were walking a tightrope. I added gentle side-to-side weight shifts, paying close attention to how my ankles, knees, and hips worked together. Within just a few weeks, subtle but profound changes began to appear. My steps felt surer, my posture more upright. That quiet fear of stumbling began to fade into the background. One evening, swept up by a wave of confidence and nostalgia, I put on a favorite old record. As the music filled the room, I found myself dancing, spinning gently in the kitchen like I hadn't in years. That wasn't just exercise, it was liberation. It was joy rediscovered. You don't need expensive equipment or a trip to the gym to train your balance. A corner of your living room and a little time each day is all it takes to reclaim strength, confidence, and the freedom to move without fear. A sturdy chair, a safe space, and just a few minutes each day. That's all it takes to begin. You don't need fancy equipment or complicated routines. Simple movements like standing on one leg, lifting your heels in slow calf raises, or walking heel to toe in a straight line like you're on a tightrope can work wonders. These little habits, when done consistently, quietly rebuild your balance, your awareness, and your confidence. There are so many accessible ways to get started. You can find free balance training videos online, many designed specifically for older adults and tailored to your pace. If you prefer the energy of others, a local senior fitness class offers not only guidance, but also a beautiful sense of community. And if you're unsure what's safe or effective for you personally, a consultation with a physical therapist can help craft a plan that suits your body, your needs, and your goals. What I love most about balance training is that its benefits go far beyond fall prevention. Yes, stronger balance dramatically reduces your risk of injury, but it also unlocks freedom. Freedom to garden on your knees again without hesitation. Freedom to chase after giggling grandchildren without fear. Freedom to walk into your dreams, even those you've left waiting on the shelf. Think of it like brushing your teeth, a small daily commitment with lifelong benefits. Don't wait for a fall or a scare to remind you of your strength. Start now. Begin with the smallest step, and watch how far it carries you into a vibrant, mobile, and joyful future. Together, we've explored 6 powerful mistakes that quietly chip away at your balance, your confidence, and even your independence. But the truth is, now that you know, you have the power to make a change. Every choice you make to protect your stability is a choice to live with more grace, more strength, and more joy in these golden years. I'd truly love to hear from you. What was the one insight today that struck a chord? Was it finally replacing those worn-out slippers? Maybe committing to a 5-minute balance routine? Or perhaps making that overdue eye exam appointment? Please take a moment to share in the comments below. Your story might be the very spark someone else needs. And if this video has helped you, please don't forget to leave a comment, give it a like, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Healthy Aging Blueprint, for more practical tips and heartfelt conversations about living fully, fearlessly, and with purpose. Wishing you continued health, lasting happiness, and deep peace. And remember, don't just walk through life, dance through it. And subscribe to Healthy Aging Blueprint so we can keep dancing together.